Hello again and welcome to another Warhammer 40k Imperial Guard Tactics video. Now before we get into today's video, I'd like to say a big thank you to Plastic Skulls for sending in some awesome pictures of his Imperial Guard forces. These guys are really impressive. The conversions are absolutely fantastic, from those heavy flamers to the auto cannons to the Leman Russ. All of it is absolutely incredible, so thank you for sending these pictures in. Plastic Skulls actually has a YouTube channel, so seriously go and check it out, and there's a really cool video over there about how to magnetize your Leman Russ weapon options without using magnets. I know, techno sorcery, but it is actually a pretty cool video. But thank you to Plastic Skulls for sending these pictures in. If anyone else has got any cool pictures they want me to use in my videos, then please post them on my Facebook page, or you can email them to me at mordianglorytv@gmail.com. Without further ado, let's crack on with today's video. Now today guys, I want to do another Let's Fix It video, and I want to take a look at Hellhounds and the two variants, the Bane Wolf and the Devil Dog. That's right, you're getting a 3-for-1 video today guys. Now the Hellhound is a really interesting unit. It's quite a favourite one amongst a lot of Guard players. I mean, who doesn't like a flame tank rolling around burning the enemies of the Emperor? But it has never quite worked. Even in 8th edition, I always thought they were a little bit underwhelming. And in 9th edition especially, you know, they just don't seem to really do what they need to be doing. Especially when you've got like Armour of Contempt rocking around. And yeah, they're underwhelming. So what I want to do is take a look at the Hellhound and see if we can improve it so that it just feels like a better unit to use. So let's take a look at the just general Hellhound first, the flame tank variant. Now the first thing that I would do is improve its movement value. Now that might seem a bit strange because it's a Chimera based vehicle, so surely it should just go the same speed as the Chimera. Well, I don't think so, okay? I mean, at the end of the day, this thing is in the fast attack slot. Alright, it should be a fast attack feeling vehicle, and so for me, I think this thing should have a movement of 14 inches, and that should represent the fact that it's got some kind of up-gunned engine, some overtuned, overcharged engine. I mean, that just makes sense to me, and it feels kind of cool in terms of the fluff, because the Hellhound crew are always, you know, tinkering with things they shouldn't be doing, you know, altering the fuel mix. You know, tech priests are a little bit funny about Hellhound crew and all that kind of stuff, so that would kind of be cool. Now, another way you could do it is, rather than just giving it like 2 inches of extra movement, you could give it like a flat advance roll of like 6. That would be kind of cool. But either way, I think that the Hellhound needs to feel like a fast attack choice. And at the moment, it just feels like a Chimera that can't transport men, which isn't good. Okay? Now, the next thing that I want to do is take a look at that Inferno cannon. Now, the 16-inch range is a bit of a weird one. Okay? Most of the time, flamers are either a 12-inch range, or if they're better than that, they're an 18-inch range. So straight away, this thing should just be brought in line with some of the other flamers out there, and it should be made into an 18-inch range Inferno cannon. That just makes sense to me. Now, the next thing that I would do is change the heavy 2d6 profile. Firstly, I think it should be assault. I think that this vehicle is, again, it's a fast attack choice. It should be able to move quickly and still be putting fire down. Okay, literally with in case of the Hellhound, right? So it should be an assault weapon. Just straight up, no messing around, it should be an assault weapon. Now, the 2d6 I'm not overly happy about, because I think that makes it very swingy. So for me, I think I would rather the Hellhound had something like 4d3 shots. So it's got like the same total shots it can get, which is 12, but it's much more reliable. Now, we've seen this kind of sort of profile on other units like the autocannons that baby knights get. They get 4d3. We've seen it on things like the Castigator for the Sisters of Battle, okay? So it's not an unprecedented weapon profile. The only thing is I get that maybe the whole 4d3 thing is reserved for autocannons. I have seen GW doing something like d6 plus 2 for the flamers on like Chaos, for example. So maybe instead of having, you know, 4d3, they go something like 2d6 plus 4. That would actually be pretty cool, because again, you're going to have pretty high average number of dice, but then it actually ups the total number of dice you might end up getting up to that ceiling. Look, I'd be happy either way, but the Hellhound needs some kind of way of having a reliable flamer output, a reliable shot output. At the moment, it's just too swingy, and even some of the dice rerolling techniques that we have aren't that great with the Hellhound. So for example, Catachan or Gunnery Experts, both of those are only allowed to reroll one of the dice. That's not great. So it just needs to be a little bit more reliable. Okay, this thing needs to be scooting up flanks and reliably burning out little squads here and there, or harassing larger squads. That should be its battlefield role, okay? Now, another big thing that I'd like to see rolled out across all flame weapons, including the Inferno Cannon, is the ability for them to innately ignore the benefits of saving throws for being in cover. Basically, you shouldn't be getting a cover save against this thing. It's just going to fill the cover that you're in with fire. So that just seems like a given to me. Now, on top of this, I was considering saying maybe the Inferno Cannon should be AP2 as well. But the problem with that, and this was a really good point that was made by someone in one of my live streams, which is, if you just give everything an extra AP, then yeah, you're countering Arm of Contempt, but then Arm of Contempt just becomes totally useless. And like, that's a really, really good point. So what I'd like to see is that the Inferno Cannon, it could stay at AP1. I'm kind of okay with that, but it should ignore cover. Now, what that means is that a Terminator in cover is still going to be perfectly protected from this. And I have no problem with that. At the end of the day, it's a goddamn Terminator. Alright? He's wearing a suit of armour that was originally designed for people to be going into hazardous environments. It's not our fault that the Imperium of Man uses them as war suits now. But I'm kind of okay with him being impervious to flames. I mean, at the end of the day, if you want to kill a Terminator, you're going to have to use a plasma gun or a melter gun. But it means things like Marines are like, okay, now they're still just on a 3-up save. And I can deal with Marines being on a 3-up save. I can't deal with Intercessors being on a fucking 2-up save stuck in cover. You know, it's very, very difficult, alright? So I would have them with an inbuilt ignore cover, and I would apply that rule to loads and loads of flame weapons. I think it's a nice balance between just giving them extra AP and making them, you know, feel more effective against cover. Now, speaking of weapon profiles, I'd like to see something done to the Chem Cannon and the Melter Cannon. Okay, now that's for the Bane Wolf and the Devil Dog, respectively. Now, the Bane Wolf Chem Cannon is truly one of the worst vehicle weapons in the game. Okay, it's only got an 8-inch range, only just D6 shots. It is AP3, and it wounds anything that isn't a vehicle on a 2+, but if it is a vehicle, it wounds it on a 6+. Look, it's just the whole wounding on a 2+, vehicle on a 6+ thing, I'm fine with keeping that. The AP is fine, and I'm not even that bothered about the damage, okay? The big things that need to be fixed with the Chem Cannon, quite frankly, is the 8-inch range and the heavy D6. Look, just make this weapon have the same advanced profile that we talk about with the Hellhound, okay? Give it an 18-inch range, give it a much more higher and reliable shot count, and it's going to start having a great time. Now, the thing is that you might be saying, but Mordian Glory, aren't those weapon profiles too similar? And I would say no, because the Chem Cannon would be very, very good at killing infantry, but the moment you come across any vehicles, and you might say, oh, but no one takes vehicles in this meta. Harlequins spam vehicles. I haven't seen a Space Marine army running around without a Dreadnought in a long time. You know, and oh look, Imperial Guard are on the rise with all those tanks. You can't say that vehicles aren't popular anymore. They're definitely a factor you take into. Knights, for fuck's sake. Like, there's definitely vehicles out there. So the Chem Cannon would be really, really good going into infantry, but it'd be almost useless against certain armies. And that's fine. It means it's got a niche. It means it's got a battlefield role. It means it's not totally bloody useless. Alright? So that's what I would do. Make them have similar base profiles, but make it so that you can put a Hellhound in your list and it can still spray flame at the side of a knight and have a good chance of doing some damage to it, and have an equal amount of chance of doing some damage to some intercessors. It just does a little bit. It just does a little bit of damage to everything. Or you take a Chem Cannon and you're like, look, I know if I come across knights, this unit isn't going to be very useful, but if I come across some intercessors or something else, I'm going to be burning them for days. I'm going to be melting them for days with my chemical slag. Like, that's what you want to be getting out of these weapon profiles. Now, when it comes to the Melter Cannon, you have to be a little bit more careful, because at the end of the day, this thing is running around with a Melter Cannon. It's got a pretty good profile as it is already. I mean, it's got a 24-inch range, strength 8, AP4, and then it does the whole melter damage kind of thing, okay? Now, I think the big tweak that needs to be made to the Melter Cannon is simply the number of shots it gets. Now, I would argue that Assault D3 is not very good. I think I would just make it Assault 4. Now that seems pretty big, right? But essentially how I see the Melter Cannon is it should just be a really big multi-melter. And the simple way of making that work is by having it as an Assault 4 weapon. The other option I would go for, and now this is pretty controversial, but I would potentially make it auto-hitting. And an auto-hitting melter is pretty powerful, I'm not going to lie. But if you made it auto-hitting, I would maybe reduce it down to like an Assault 3 weapon, or even like an Assault 2 weapon. But the point is I would definitely consider giving it an auto-hitting profile, because then it just brings it in line with all of the other weapons. Like the Chem Cannon, the Inferno Cannon, and the Melter Cannon. These things are all just auto-hitting. If you want auto-hitting in your army, the Hellhound's the way you want to go. Now, what you've got to be careful is you don't want to make this thing too powerful, because you don't want people to quickly work out if this weapon does more damage than, let's say, like a Lehman Russ Demolisher tank. No, what you want this unit to be able to do is essentially drive up, take a chunk out of a vehicle, but not reliably able to like kill one in like one go. And then maybe if you take a pair of them or 2 or 3 of them, you're able to then reliably pick up a vehicle. And that's fair enough. I mean, if you're taking like 300 to 400 points worth of vehicles, you probably should be able to, you know, kill a dreadnought fairly reliably. So that's what I would do. I'd keep it with a relatively low number of shots, but I would make it so that it keeps that big melter profile. That's my opinion. I think the melter cannon, weirdly, is kind of the trickiest because it's actually already got a good profile. I think it just needs the number of shots sorting out. But what do you guys think? Let me know down in the comment section below. What would you change about the melter cannon and the other weapon profiles that we've talked about? Now, what I want to take a look at now is not necessarily changing like unit profiles or weapon profiles, but actually think about adding some cool abilities to each one of these Hellhound variants that will make them even more distinct from another. Because right now, the only thing that distinguishes them is the weapon loadout, but it'd be cool if they could have some unique data slate abilities that really made them stand out. So the first one that I think there should be, and again, these could be data slate abilities or they could be stratagems, whatever you guys think would be better. I don't really mind. I think having lots of things tied up with stratagems can be a little frustrating, but maybe if you have these 2 widespread data sheet abilities, then maybe they get a bit too powerful. Let me know what you think down in the comment section below. Now, the first one I think should be fairly obvious is that the Hellhound should have the ability to auto-detonate. Shouldn't be, maybe that's a stratagem, you know, Spiteful Demise or Manic Crew, whatever you want to call it. But Hellhound crews are well known for being a little unhinged. So it'd be kind of cool to see this thing have the ability to auto-detonate. Now, for the Chem Cannon and the Bane Wolf, I think it would be kind of cool to have an ability where if the enemy gets hit by it, that they're either -1 toughness to represent that the toxic slag has started oozing through the armor and making it a bit weaker, a little bit like I think the Nova Cannon should do something similar for the Eradicator, or it should reduce their movement to represent the fact that they're all sort of gummed up with toxic sludge. Something like that would be kind of cool. Again, you could either have that as an inbuilt part of the weapon profile, a data slate ability, or even a stratagem. You could call it something like Toxic Waste or Toxic Sludge for 1 CP. Select one enemy unit that has been hit by a Chem Cannon this turn. Until that unit's next phase, they can't move more than half and they can't advance. Or until your next phase, they're -1 toughness, something like that. The point is that you could have loads of fun with that, and you could even make it a 2-part stratagem where it's 1 CP for one ability, 2 CP for both. We've seen other stratagems do that with things like some of the Dark Elder stratagems that you choose to want to fall back and shoot or fall back and charge, or you can do both. There is abilities, there is precedent for it, is my point. Now, when it comes to the Devil Dog, I think what would be kind of a cool ability is to have a shoot and scoot ability. To represent the fact that this thing is trying to get around the side of tanks, you know, bigger threats than what it is. You know, this thing is potentially even hunting down things like enemy main battle tanks or super heavies. It goes around the flank, it does a little melter shot, it realizes, okay, I've not quite damaged it, I'm not going to be able to go into a stand-up fight with these bad boys, and so then you've got an ability to basically fire and fade it, move like 6 inches back. That would be kind of cool. I think that would be really powerful to have that, like, army-wide unit ability, but I think to have that as like a 1 CP stratagem wouldn't be such a bad idea. Now that's all we've got time for today, but I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you have, please leave me a little like and maybe even consider subscribing to the channel. But more importantly, I'm really interested to know what you guys think about how you would fix the Hellhound. And maybe not even the Hellhound. Are there other units and data slates and all that kind of good stuff that you think don't quite work right now? Mainly for the Guard, but are there other factions as well that you're interested in that you'd like me to take a look at and go, look, Morning Glory, how would you fix this unit? Right now it just doesn't work. So if you've got any ideas for that, put it down in the comment section below and I'll consider making a video about it. Now, if you've really enjoyed today's video and you want to go the extra mile when it comes to supporting the channel, then please consider becoming a channel member or Patreon supporter. It is thanks to the very generous support of my channel members and of my patrons that I'm able to do Mordian Glory full time now and do more of these sort of fun videos rather than all being like dry tactics videos. We can do some more fun things like how do we fix Ogrins and how do we fix Hellhounds and stuff like that. So if you want to see more of this kind of content, then please consider becoming a channel member or Patreon supporter. And I'd just like to take a short moment to just say a big thank you to all of our latest channel members and patrons. So a big thank you to AL Craft, Major Sven, Jonathan Labarov, Atrimus Let's Play, Funny Creature, Lackland Coles, Scott Gregory, Nick Smith, The Goggles, They Do Nothing, Auto15A and Trevor Lane. Thank you guys for becoming channel members. I really appreciate all of your extra support. And I also want to say a big thank you to our latest Patreons as well. So big thank you to Eric Cruzat, Antonio Aguilera, DK126, Polaris, Jacob Holden and the Major 91. Thank you guys for becoming Patreon supporters. It's absolutely awesome. Now, last but certainly not least, I'd like to say a huge, heartfelt, proper thank you to all of my top tier Patreon supporters. These are the War Masters, the people that have truly gone the extra mile when it comes to supporting my channel. So a massive thank you and a big 07 down in the comment section for Navy Veteran, Philip French, Ross Miller, Alex Stengal, John Stubbs, Nicholas Walsh, Swordfish Trombone, Diesel Fox, Tom Sutton and August Varney. Massive thank you to all of these guys. The level of support you are giving me is just amazing. I cannot overstate how impactful it is. So thank you so much. And as always, I hope you enjoyed today's video, guys. That goes to the rest of you as well. I hope everyone's enjoyed today's video. And of course, as always, I'll see you guys next time.